Game Pass is going to be big in April with some major games dropping. We'll take a look at what games are coming in the next month. We still have a couple more weeks of March, but April is going to be huge. Valve and SteamOS. This could be a game changer in the console market. And it looks like those steps are being taken to have SteamOS on desktops, on desktop PCs. So you'll probably see that translated into some cool things in the future. We'll take a look at that. Switch 2. We have some analysis on the sales and adoption of it, as well as Game Pass reaching 50 million subscribers in 2025. This is what some analysts are saying with some data that they do have. More AI information. Bobby Kotick is filing defamation against Kotaku and as well as Geo Media. So that's an interesting story. That and then a couple of other things to go over. But before we do start today's show, if you are new here, or if you've been watching for a while and you are not subscribed, please consider hitting the subscribe button to help this channel grow. If you like daily gaming news and daily gaming content and discussions, this is the place to be. So I appreciate that. But let's jump into it here. And let's just quickly start off here looking at the first 6 games that have been confirmed for Xbox Game Pass in April of 2025. It is a pretty phenomenal month if you think about it. Game Pass so far has been decent. The last couple of announcements have been a little bit down, but we already know what we're getting from the first party perspective in terms of day one games. April and May and everything are going to have South of Midnight and then Doom, so it's going to be a fun couple of months. But April specifically is looking pretty good already. These are 6 games that you can plan to play right now when April does hit. South of Midnight on April 8th. This is a big one. This is obviously first party game from Compulsion Games. And to me, Compulsion has just been average in the games that they have put out. They have put out We Happy Few, which was all right. I was a lot more excited for it before I actually went in and played it. I don't think I ever did finish it. And then their first game that they did put out, which was pretty fun. I actually finished that one. I like that one better than We Have a Few. And that is Contrast. It was like a third person action puzzler style of game. So that one was okay. But South of Midnight to me looks absolutely phenomenal from everything we have seen so far, from a storytelling perspective to the graphics to the gameplay and everything. So I hope it does live up to the hype, but I hope this is their big coming out party as finally getting a game that hits across all cylinders and is people enjoy it more enjoyed than the other 2 games that they did put up. Then you got Commandos Origin here on April 9th, which if you ever played the Commandos game, it is a real-time tactics game. And this is just bringing you back to the first one that kicked it all off here. And this is coming out April 9th. Then we have Descenders next, which this looks like it is a ton of fun. I believe this is a day one game here when it does launch into Xbox Game Pass. Yeah, they do mention here play on day one, but you can see it here. This is like snowboarding, racing, doing all these different tricks and stuff, which I love these styles of games. And they've put out other games from this developer that have all been fun. And you can see also other extreme sports and stuff. Kind of reminds me a little bit of Riders Republic, which is similar in nature with just a bunch of different extreme sports and different events that you go through. And that game was a lot of fun. And so I feel like this will be along those lines, and it will be a good one to jump into. You have Blueprints here, which is an interesting one here because this is one that Shuei Yoshida, this is coming day one on Game Pass, but this one Shuei Yoshida said it could be a Game of the Year candidate. You wouldn't think. It's just a small indie game, but he was the head of indies at PlayStation, and he went through, he vetted a lot of these indie games and helped them and everything. And this one he's saying could be a Game of the Year. And then we have Tempopo, which is a puzzle game. Don't really know too much about this one. It looks like a puzzle platformer, 3D platformer style. Actually, maybe something I enjoy playing. But this one's also coming here on April 17th. And then finally, the big one of them all, the biggest one for me, the one I'm the most excited for and the one I'm most interested in, not just on Game Pass, but for all games released this year in 2025, Clair Obscur Expedition 33, day one on Xbox Game Pass on April 24th. Game looks and sounds phenomenal. So very much looking forward to that. Now, that's what we know so far. That's coming to Game Pass in April. There could be more, but it is a stacked month. You have 2 big major day one games with South of Midnight and with Clair Obscur. But then there's the other ones there like Descenders next, which I'm sure a lot of people will jump into. And then Blueprints, which has caught my attention because of Shuei Yoshida from what he said about it, saying could be a Game of the Year candidate. So very cool stuff there. I'm excited for Game Pass as always. Let's jump over here. Let's talk Valve and SteamOS. This is something that I've talked about on my channel previously. I like the Steam Deck better than all the other handhelds simply because of SteamOS and just how easy that is to use. It feels like a console experience. It feels like it is something that was created specifically for you. And one of the reasons why you buy a Steam Deck over buying just a Windows gaming handheld and having to be stuck on Windows 11, which I've had both, and I find that experience far worse than SteamOS. The other thing Steam is doing is they're taking SteamOS and they are licensing it out to other manufacturers. We're seeing this with Lenovo Legion Go S in the handheld market, and I'm sure we will see other manufacturers getting in on using SteamOS for their handhelds. And they're potentially now going to be bringing it over to desktop PCs, which I think it just brings in a whole new world of console experience and PC experience, all the things you would be able to do if you have access to SteamOS without all of the bloatware of Windows to go out there and play your game. I think this is a very smart move, and this is what I think Xbox will do as well with their Xbox UI. They've just been slower at getting out to launching this stuff. They're behind on the handheld, and they're going to be behind on this as well if this rumor is true. This year comes via WCCF Tech saying Valve rumored to launch SteamOS for desktop PC soon. Is a time for a bloatware-free OS? Is the future of that close to us? It says here that the dream of owning an actual SteamOS-based desktop may be very soon. Valve's Steam Deck did something great that made millions of users want to switch to SteamOS permanently, and I would say I'm in that realm of people who looked at SteamOS and thought this is far better than anything else we do have, at least on the handhelds right now. So I am more interested in that than playing games via just the native Windows 11. The only thing that has me going to the Windows handhelds simply is Game Pass. So that may change here with the Xbox handhelds coming up, but Game Pass is what keeps me on the Windows 11 experience with handhelds. They go on here to say that this experience with SteamOS could be launching on the desktop platform. User, sadly, it's Bradley, posted that SteamOS is almost here. And in the thread, he did confirm that he was talking about SteamOS coming to desktop PCs. And that's basically all we know. Judging by the post, it does seem that the launch is near. And as I've said, they're licensing this out to handhelds. I will not be surprised whatsoever if they take this, expand this program out and license it out to just desktop PCs. And that just brings in a whole new piece of competition. We've been hearing rumors that they are trying to get into the console market with a Steam box of some sort. But if they were just to take the SteamOS license and you're able to take it and install it on like a mini PC that you could use as a console, you're basically going to have a console and a lot of different options of the amount of power you want in that console just by going out and buying something that is tiny, compact, can install bloatware-free SteamOS on it, and then play all of your games, which I could definitely see happening if they do bring this over to the PCs, to the desktop PCs. We will start seeing Steam boxes by different manufacturers with it licensed on there, and then it's just plug and play when you attach it to your TV, which basically makes it a console, which will bring a whole new realm of competition to Xbox, PlayStation, and to Nintendo, because PC is growing rapidly here, and all of the major manufacturers see it, and they're putting their games on there, I guess, except for Nintendo. But at some point they may, but for PlayStation and Xbox, where that is kind of more the consumer that would go towards PC, with big AAA games looking for graphics and frame rates. If you have SteamOS on just a bunch of different options of GPU and CPU and everything, you can really just tailor what you want in terms of your power, plug it into your TV and just have a console, have a Bluetooth Xbox controller attached to it or whatever, and you're going to be getting the whole SteamOS experience, not having to deal with Windows with a PC attached to a TV or something along those lines. So I think this could open up so many avenues of competition within the console market, and we'll see if they do end up doing it. I believe they will, especially because of what they've already been doing with the handheld itself. Now, speaking of consoles, the Nintendo Switch 2, the showcase for it is very soon. It's going to be coming out this year, and that's another huge player into what's going to be happening in the console market. PlayStation and Xbox are not going to be only the major players that are playing these latest AAA games. I think the Switch 2 will be as well. And it looks like they're thinking, the analysts are thinking, that the Switch 2 could have a slower adoption, as well as Game Pass itself, they believe is going to reach 50 million subscribers in 2025, which would be a major feat here for Xbox. I think the last number we've heard for them was like 30 or 33 million, something along those lines. But it says here that from a Bloomberg article, Serkan Toto shared his bullish look here on Nintendo Switch 2, as well as his look here on Xbox Game Pass. He says they will sell boatloads of Nintendo Switch 2 in the first months, in particular, almost regardless of the price. And I agree with that. Like, I will be one of those people who goes out and buy the Switch 2 day one, I would say pretty much regardless of the price, unless they're going like PS5 Pro prices, but you just know that isn't going to happen. He says we can expect a great software lineup in year one, from the new Mario Kart and 3D Mario after 8 years to Pokemon Legends ZA and Metroid Prime 4, which is a phenomenal launch lineup. And there will also be third-party support from day one, most probably including blockbusters like Call of Duty. We have been hearing Xbox is going to have a huge presence here on the Nintendo Switch 2. I think this launch lineup is going to be massive, because this console is going to be able to play all of those big AAA games that were previously on the Xbox and PlayStation. You know, publishers and developers are going to be wanting to get in on this launch because they will sell numbers for their games. So you're going to have a ton of third-party support right away, and then you're going to have a couple of big first-party Nintendo hitters. So I think the Nintendo Switch 2 may go down as one of the better launches that we've ever gotten on a console. And that, to me, is exciting. I'm excited to see exactly what they do announce. And will we see that launch lineup on April 2nd with the official Nintendo Switch 2 conference, where they give us more info about the product itself? Now, he also goes on here to say, Super Data Research co-founder Jus van Drunen has a different opinion on the subject. Van Drunen, who sold Super Data Research to Nielsen in 2018 and is now the CEO of data intelligence firm Aldora, wrote in his freshly published 2025 State of Play on Games, Tech, and Media report that no, the backwards compatibility of the Nintendo Switch 2 combined with its relatively modest technical improvements ensures a slower adoption curve, especially among cost-conscious consumers during the start of its new hardware cycle. It is expected to cost around $399 at launch. So he doesn't believe it's going to sell as good as Serkan Toto does say. I'm not sure, to be honest. I think it will sell well. At $399 with a big lineup, I think it will do well in its first year, in its first couple of months. I think this thing will be sold out unless they produce so much that there really isn't an inventory issue. I will be surprised, but I think the Switch 2, you have to get in on the pre-orders, or it'll be relatively hard to get over the first year or so. But Van Drunen also continues here and shares some more interesting opinions on the industry. Specifically, he believes Game Pass will reach 50 million subscribers this year as consumers become more careful with their spending on video games and look for cheaper alternatives like that offered by Microsoft. So that is a big number, 50 million. I think that would be a pretty impressive announcement if they were to come out with 50 million subscribers and say that it is there. And we know Microsoft, they are very keeping their cards close to the chest when it comes to the numbers about what is happening with their platform, Game Pass, console sales, all of that type of stuff. I wonder how big Call of Duty has been in terms of growth. I wonder how big this first half of the year is going to be and has been so far with first-party games coming out, especially when you have a game like Doom that is coming out in May, which, you know, there will be a lot of people signing up to Game Pass just to play that. And then how big will the second half of the year be for pushing Game Pass subscribers? I do absolutely agree with him, though, that consumers are definitely becoming more cost conscious on spending with everything in the economy and prices going up across different industries. And there's just the whole uncertainty of everything that is happening right now. People are going to want to find different ways to save money on games. Game Pass is just that easy alternative where you pay $20, or even if you just want Game Pass standard, which still is a pretty good selection of games, and you're getting access to a bunch of stuff to jump in and play. One thing we have to realize is that not everybody wants to play the latest AAA game day one. If they see a big catalog of games that are interesting to them, they'll just sign up to play that and then wait for the other stuff to come out. So we'll see. 50 million would be a big number here if Xbox were to announce that here in 2025. Okay, let's talk AI, because this is breaking into the industry. It has to. I know people complain about it and they think it's going to be absolutely terrible. I think it will be bad in some ways for sure. I'm not fully on board with it, but I think there will be a lot of positive things that AI can bring. But the reality is it has to break in, because we are seeing in the industry it costing a lot to make these games. And A lot of layoffs are happening because it's really hard to make enough profit off of them. And just realistically, we just know that these CEOs and these executives, they're not taking pay cuts. They aren't going to do the thing that they probably could do and should do in order to save people's positions in order to keep this industry healthy, but they're not going to do that. So they're going to find other ways to do it. AI is going to be that way. It's going to cut development costs, and they're going to be able to just make more profit on the release of these games. PlayStation is diving into this. We saw a report last week that Alloy had AI speech, was able to interact and everything via AI. And now we have the actor of Alloy who is saying that they're worried for the art form now because of this AI leak that happened with PlayStation last week. It says here that Ashley Birch said that she is worried about the future of video game performance as an art form following the release of a video that appeared to be an AI generated version of Birch's character, specifically saying, "I want to talk about Alloy. I saw the tech demo earlier this week. Guerrilla reached out to let me know that the demo didn't reflect anything that was actively in development. They didn't use any of my performance for the demo, none of my facial or voice data. Guerrilla owns Alloy as a character." Continues and says, "I feel worried and not worried about Guerrilla specifically or Horizon or my performance or my career specifically. Even I feel worried about this art form, game performance. We are currently on strike. The SAG-AFTRA currently on strike against video games because of AI, because this technology exists and because we know that game companies want to use it. We are asking for protections." Finally continues here saying, "I feel worried not because the technology exists, not even because the game companies want to use it, but because of the course they want to use technological advancements. I just imagine a video like this coming out that does have someone's performance attached to it, that does have someone's voice or face movements, and the possibility that if we lose this fight, that person would have more recourse." So, I mean, the argument is valid if you're somebody who has put in a bunch of work into developing a character and the way that they speak and act and everything in the game, and then seeing it being replicated here with AI so easily, and it looked pretty legit. There will be people that this will, I would say, replace. But how much will it replace? Because I think you could definitely tell the difference between AI and then humans doing the work itself. So how good will it get where you can't tell the difference and then people don't care, and then companies exploit it to such an extent that they're just using that to create entire games? I don't think we're near that yet. I do think AI will replace stuff, and I do think there will be some positive things if it is used properly. So we'll have to wait and see. Just gonna have to hope that these publishers and the business side of things look at it and think we can add more value to our games by using AI for some things, but we don't want to take away the art form, which is the main thing that sells these games to a lot of people. Okay, a couple more things here. Bobby Kotick, he's filing for defamation against media outlets over discrimination comments. So, as you know, Bobby Kotick was under a lot of heat. Now he's going after the media outlets that were throwing his name out there, and I guess not covering the story properly. He says, Bobby Kotick, the former CEO of Activision Blizzard, has filed a suit in Delaware against Geo Media, naming Kotaku and Gizmodo specifically, and the suit complains that both outlets attempted to smear Kotick by going out of their way to besmirch his name by mentioning false, withdrawn allegations of discrimination and workplace harassment. It was claimed by Kotick that articles were penned with the malicious purpose of causing further harm to his name, which was at the time already considerably tarnished. The complaint from Kotick reads here, neither article had anything to do with Activision. Both were about rumors that Kotick was interested in buying TikTok, yet Kotaku and Gizmodo went out of their way to include withdrawn false allegations relating to workplace issues, which Geo Media knew had been conclusively disproven by numerous investigations, purely for the malicious purposes of causing further harm to Kotick. And the articles in questions, again, were reports published by Kotaku and Gizmodo about the claim that Bobby Kotick was a part of a cabal looking to acquire TikTok in the United States. Well, we will see what happens. Insider Gaming actually also wrote this in their article that, for reference, they also covered the claims, but I neglected to insult the man or bring up his troubled past at Activision Blizzard, aside from mentioning what employees were saying about him on social media. But that's probably why I'm not being sued. And that was actually written here by Grant Taylor Hill of Insider Gaming, I believe. So they're saying here that they covered it, and they're not being sued, but we'll continue to follow this and see what comes out of that suit. And finally, got 2 more things here. Remedy Entertainment Control 2 is now in full production. So if you are a fan of Control 2 here is going to get going, and we will see it probably sooner rather than later in terms of some more information about the game, some gameplay trailers and everything like that. We have this here. Remedy Entertainment confirms Control 2 is now in full production as per the annual report, and it finished all the pre-production work on the title. And finally, we'll end off with this here. Intergalactic, the Heretic Prophet, which is that new game from Naughty Dog. It has had mixed reception since they did first show it off. Here's some interesting info, though. It looks like it is inspired by Elden Ring in terms of player freedom. Specifically, this is MinMax Ben Hansen saying, I've heard Naughty Dog's next game is very inspired by a game with a lot of player freedom. Elden Ring is what it was compared to. It's taking place on one planet, uncovering the history of this world. You can kind of see a little bit where they might be going. So I'm interested in this game. I'm interested to see how it turns out. They're going in a different direction. It's a new IP, which is something I've been asking for from PlayStation for a while now. Stop with the remakes and the remasters. Give us something brand new, which is what they're doing. So that's good. And we'll see how it does turn out. If it's going to be more exploration and open world style, something I'm also excited about if they go along those lines. And this, if they do hit that, it's a new IP. It's really gameplay focused and everything. That's kind of what I've been asking for from PlayStation, so I don't have too many complaints right now with this game. I'm excited to see how it does turn out. I'm going to end the video there, guys. If you did enjoy this video, hit that thumbs up. If you're new here, hit that subscribe, and I'll catch you guys in the next video.